It's Tuesday, July 18th, 7 o'clock, and this is the Invasives Remediation Working Group meeting. So we shall start with a report from Pam.
Yes, so according to our agenda, this is going to be an update on invasive removal work at Weed Beach by the park crew. And if you haven't taken a ride down there, I've certainly seen the area that they've cleaned out since last February, but I have not yet to see the grass that's growing in beautifully. So Sandy said definitely worth a trip down there to see how the park has been opened up. They've seeded it, and while they keep mowing it, that's helping with the invasives not coming back.
You mean sorry, Pam, at Weed?
At Weed.
It's amazing.
It is.
I go down there multiple times a week. The grass, it's amazing.
Yeah.
So amazing. Laura, have you been down?
I went back to Cherry Lawn yesterday, but I have not been to Weed.
You gotta go to Weed. You're just gonna be blown away.
Yeah.
The area beyond the paddle courts. Really amazing.
Yeah. He's made new parkland, and it's
correct.
Now the bugs are still bad. I did inquire about that because that's always been a complaint, which is very interesting. And as I said right before we started, I wonder if it's just a budget item to try something that's non-invasive or non-pesticide, like the mosquito dunks during the seasonal, to throw in the wetland area. It's very effective here. Of course, when it dumps rain, hard to ever stop them from coming out. But
yeah.
Now that we want to encourage people to walk back there, it'd be nice to try to conquer it without sprays, pesticides. So that is a possibility. So the commission, we should bring that up at some point.
Yeah, I mean, the bugs are really bad. I mean, they're really bad this year. I was down at the Gardner Center today talking to Sean. And he was saying how he's been there 17 years. He's never had to wear bug spray while he's at work. And he said for the first time this year, even during the day, he has to wear insect repellent because the insects are so bad.
I wonder if it's a mild winter.
It's because of all the rain. Same thing. We had guys doing work in our yard this week. The same thing. They're like, we've never had problems with being attacked by bugs during the day, and it's terrible. I just think it's because it's already like the fourth rainiest July in record.
Wow. After starting out with a drought.
Yep.
So let me read you what Sandy reported. He said, here's where we are with the invasive removal at Weed and Cherry. So we'll kind of flow into Cherry. The back section of Weed Beach is basically complete. The grass is growing in nicely and very little vines and weeds are showing through. We are mowing it weekly with the rest of the park, and that is helping to keep invasive plants from coming back. The only thing that I might want to do is throw down a little bit more seed this fall. And so really he's feeling very good about that section. I still need to follow up with him on the other side of the property where we're going to be considering that project and see whether or not I would imagine there's got to be more there with those trees, maybe not tree of heaven, but so and then of course what we talk about is like what did we say next steps there? Discuss future initiatives. And this is his feedback. We're going to heading back up to Cherry in mid to late August to complete the removal at the back end of the park and work our way up towards the rear of the community gardens.
Okay.
It is hard for me to put a timeline on this because we will still need to focus on some of our other work. I plan on spending at least 2 full days with 3 to 4 guys working, and also schedule a few full days on Saturdays, which would be overtime. I plan on removing all of the weeds and vines, as well as any trees that are dead or severely damaged. Once everything is cleared out, we will grade the area roughly with our tractor so that the area can easily be mowed. I think putting down grass seed is the best way to go in order to keep the area from being overgrown again. With the area graded and seeded, it will ensure that we can routinely mow the area and allow the grass to take hold and choke out any remaining invasive seeds. if you would like to make an area to plant some wildflower seeds or other shrubs and plants, I'm open to that as well. The same is true for the newly cleared area at Weed. And then he talked about, I asked him a little bit more about the trees of heaven. And he said there are still batches of trees of heaven that are in Baker Park and McGuan Park that need to come down. These would need to be hired out because they are too big for us to handle.
Mm-hmm.
So that pretty much sums up where they are. However, I did ask him an email, which I'll have to pull up. Let me see. Susan just texted me. This number. Okay, let me pull up that email because I wanted to get a count on the trees of heaven that I thought would be interesting. So let's see. Sorry, I should have had that right on hand and I thought I printed it out. Sandy Rich. Okay. So we have taken down approximately 35 trees of heaven throughout our parks. There is a cluster of 4 near the handicap spots at McGuan that we need to hire out. There is also a cluster of 5 behind the playground that we need to hire out. Baker has 3 large ones near the first base bleacher that we need to hire out. They're all too big for my crew.
Mm-hmm.
And I will certainly, I have been in touch with Deep, but they did find the spotted lanternfly at
They did?
McGuan.
At
And
McGuan.
McGuan.
Yes. So
Okay.
they've spotted that. Deep was called, they identified it. And Deep did call me and they're supposed to be sending me an email with particulars about how they would treat that. But to no secret, it's, as far as I know, it's pesticide.
Mm.
So I haven't received that email yet, so I can't really speak to it. But that's what Sandy was telling me of his conversation, that it was some sort of pesticide. I don't know. And Laura, maybe you could speak to that, whether there was something else that would do that pesticide free to get rid of them.
Well, you just don't want to just spray and not actually see any infestation. I'm wondering if they saw any eggs.
I understand they're clearly there.
The eggs are clearly there?
Clearly there.
Oh, yeah. So what the eggs look like, it almost looks like putty in the bark. It's white and it's very textured. And that's what the eggs look like.
Okay.
And so if you see that, you can literally get a little pocket knife and just scrape it out of there. And you would, take care of the eggs. Is Deep going to be the one applying pesticides because?
Well, nothing's been confirmed.
Okay.
They're there to witness it, to
Okay.
acknowledge it, to identify it. And then they're going to send me the email as to how they would treat it.
Okay.
And we would have to make the decision whether we were comfortable with that,
Right.
or if there was another method that would be better. And I don't know that.
Okay. Interesting. Well, they're everywhere now.
Yeah.
I mean,
At one point they weren't here, and even
That's
our tree removal guy was like, I don't see them here anywhere, and they're here.
they're here.
So what is the downside to not treating them?
To not getting rid of, they will destroy all your other trees.
Okay.
So they live.
So it's serious.
Yeah. Oh,
It's
it's
very
serious.
serious.
Yeah, it's very serious. You get rid of the tree of heaven. That's their host plant. And then they have no place to be.
Okay. So they're on a tree of heaven that
Yeah.
we can't remove because it's
Right.
too big. Oh, Patty
Right.
Baumgartner's coming in. So, and again, all those bigger trees that our crew can't handle have to be budgeted out. So that, unfortunately, there's some time
But
wasted there.
you got to think positively. 2 years ago, you didn't even know where they were. You
Right.
weren't even looking for them. Now you know where they are. and you have a plan to get rid of them.
Yeah, true.
So we're doing well.
Yeah, I agree. I
And
agree.
you have you've gotten rid of 35. which
Right.
is
35.
significant.
Right. So now there's just a few bunches. Yes, Lori.
Do you have money in our invasives budget or our tree budget? Do we have money to get these professionally taken down?
I can't answer that until we get quotes for them, because even for instance, Cherry Lawn Pond, one of my projects is to put the solar aerator in there. I
Yeah.
can't even do that until we professionally hire someone to get the huge tree out of there.
Okay.
So that will affect our budget.
I would recommend we get the quote on the removal of all the tree of heaven, especially if we now see that they're hosting the lanternfly. Now it's gone from the theoretical
Right.
to this is here. See if we can work it into our invasives budget along with, the work we want to continue doing. And frankly, if not, I would advocate going for a special appropriation. If we know we've seen the spotted lanternflies,
Yeah.
we know Darien has lost so many trees with whatever sources cut down over by where Palmer's is, they've taken, we've lost so many trees.
Yeah.
We cannot put on. I would very willingly go before the selectmen or the Board of Finance and ask for the money for that tree removal if it's going to put our trees at risk.
And I had just sent an email tonight for Sandy to get in the morning to get me all those quotes.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
But this is not something I would say, let's sit on our hands and wait another year until the next budget cycle. I would ask for the money. If they shoot us down, whatever, but I really
understand.
Yep.
And our invasive budget, which is 9,000, isn't gonna.
No,
That's not going to cut it. All right.
No,
So
because we need it for the
it's really what you've got in the tree budget then.
Yeah.
Okay.
And our tree budget, again, to take half of that or whatever it may be at the beginning of the year for 12 months, that would be tough too. I think the best thing would be to go to get appropriation for the quotes that we receive. Yeah. So
and we'll write up a proposal, and that's where Laura can help us, craft the wording and the dangers and et cetera, and really just say, look, here's what we're dealing with.
Yep. And I am waiting for Deep to send me the information about all of that, and of course how they treat it, which isn't necessarily how we want them to treat it.
Right.
So
okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So
going forward, do we want to do some kind of educational campaign for the community with reference to specifically this tree of heaven, the lanternfly, but other invasives as well, whether it's through the Darien Times or Darien Patch, but to start this on an ongoing basis, because I'm sure most people in town have no idea that there is a potential problem here.
I think the newspaper would take that right up.
Yeah, the New York Botanical Garden published a book or a booklet a while back called Mistaken Identity. And so they highlight an invasive plant and then a native lookalike. And they describe how you can tell the difference. So like with Tree of Heaven, the lookalike is sumac.
Oh,
and
wow.
The leaf shape is very similar. And so there's a lot of similarities. You really want sumac. Sumac is a fabulous plant for wildlife and all kinds of reasons. And then we know how destructive Tree of Heaven is. But that would be something to put in a link for that. And you can just, download this booklet, but it's really informative.
Okay.
Laura, that's a great idea. I had just had this is Patty. I just had a conversation with someone who was saying they thought they had Tree of Heaven in their backyard. And I went over and I said, that's not. And so that's a perfect example of what you're talking about. I would have hated to have her cut that down. It was sumac instead. So I think people would be very open to education on this.
I think it's a great idea. Because it won't matter if we remove, I shouldn't say it that way. It'll have more of an impact if homeowners were aware what Tree of Heaven is, and
Correct.
removed it because we will be going through the expense as a town of removing it on town property, but it's everywhere.
You know, interestingly enough,
And how to do it, right? I told Pam, I saw Laura yesterday at Cherry Lawn, and I had told her I'd just watched the Penn State Extension video on the 3 different ways they recommend taking it out. You know, one of them is like making cuts in the side of it, and then you can pour certain things in it to help kill the tree. Another one is the spray on the lower part of the tree. And then the third one is you're cutting it down, but you really got to get under that whole root cellar, like we talked about, Laura. So that's an example. That is a whole really important part, that we're not just saying, here's the Tree of Heaven, take it down, be aware. It's here are the 3 ways you can do it. Do it correctly. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
well, what I think is interesting is our spring, that's gone by us, fall and winter brochure is coming out. And, you know, one of the areas that we haven't entered into a lot other than safe boating classes for education, but we could always put a class together if, you know, Laura and Mary Louise and maybe some other experts are willing to address and educate people, and they show up at a certain time at that. Say we could reserve the paddle hut and have quite a few people there.
So you may be aware that the Master Gardener program utilized the courtyard at the library every Friday in the month of June, and we held our plant clinics there.
Right.
And so people came with their plant questions, and that was a terrific forum. People are interested, you know.
Yeah.
People
I
spend a
would
lot
love
of
Parks and
money on
Rec to get in there.
They've spent a lot of money on their property, and you know they want it to be as successful as possible.
Yeah.
Pam, and that might be an interesting way to tie in. You know, you have a big database, but the library also has a very big database, right?
Right. But it would highlight what we're already doing. Everything from the working group to the park crew to all the data that we've collected already that we've done. There's a lot to talk about. It's just that I certainly can't talk about other than what our crew's been doing and what I've learned here. But we would need a panel. And, you know, maybe it's just, you know, it's an hour of information. Maybe there's two Saturdays or something like that. I don't know. Why don't we explore that?
And the other thing I'm a big fan of, it's crazy how many people will say, oh, I saw you on channel 79. I'm like, oh God, I never watch myself, right? But so many people watch all of our meetings. And so Jim Cameron, you know, Pam, because Jim Cameron interviewed you, did that great piece. So that's another way that we could have Laura and Mary Louise or whomever interviewed with pictures, with photos, talking about that. I'm sure Jim would love to do that.
Oh, I'm sure he would.
That would just continue on the 79 reel and on demand. So let's put that into our marketing.
That's a great idea, Patty. You're right. I think he would do that, and then people watch that. You know, the one I did, people watch that stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Cameron, great.
Okay. I definitely think we should pursue all of these.
I agree. So that about wraps up what's on the budget. Because we lastly discussed a fiscal 24 budget, and the budget is approximately $9,000.
Which is not going to go very far. How much did the work crew spend? I know we've gotten, in a sense, a bargain by having them do this work. But
I don't have a total on that because they've done a lot of in-house, and they're doing a lot of other things besides invasive work. So now they're watering. There's 10 hours of watering all these plants from Highland to cherry to pear tree. The amount of plants they're putting in there, Sandy's like, that's going to add another couple hours.
That looks terrific. Really terrific.
It does. And Pam, I mean, Highland looks so much better.
I know.
Right? It makes a difference. And my gosh, our one tree planteds at Cherry Lawn, right? They look great.
So it's worth the money. I'm not saying that. I just mean that it's about spreading them thin. So some of it's in-house, and there's ultimately has to be, overtime. That's added to that.
the comment that I guess it was Sandy made about planting like wildflowers. The good part of that is it cuts down on mowing. You'd only have to mow once a year.
Right.
You would have to pay attention to any invasives that pop up in the middle of it, but if, you know, that's not over time, that will not be as time consuming. It will get less and less work, but
Right.
it'll be beautiful. And, you know, imagine a park with a little wildflower meadow there. It'd be stunning.
Stunning. I agree. So we'll have to really continue with this group talking about that. Like, how does that happen? What is the maintenance behind it? How long does it take for something like that to happen? Because I only talked about it when it was over near Little Brook, when they took down all those trees and the land trust was considering a area like that.
I
But it can be time consuming, and sometimes you can put it all in and it doesn't happen.
Mm,
Yes, indeed. That's very
Yeah.
true.
mm.
Yeah. So Mary Louise, if we don't have anything else, I believe the next meeting is scheduled for August. Let me just see if I have it on my calendar right now. We could publicly talk about it. Let's see. I believe it might be the 15th. Invasives meeting is August 15th at 7 p.m.
Okay.
Okay, so we can report tomorrow at the commission about our meeting tonight. And then I'll put together an agenda for August. And by then, maybe the guys will already have started working.
Kim, can I
Okay.
just ask you a question? Because I was on another call and I just got off, so that's why I missed the beginning of it. Did you, at Cherry Lawn, did you talk about, remember how they cut the vines and then we were waiting for the vines to slowly die and we take them off? Did y'all talk about that in the beginning of this meeting?
We did not, but we talked about Sandy, who gave a report saying that he's going to be working from in mid to late August to complete removal of the back end of the park and work our way up towards the rear of the community gardens. It's hard for me to put a timeline on this because we'll need to stay focused on some of our other daily work. I plan on spending at least 2 full days a week with 3 to 4 guys working, and also schedule a few full Saturdays. So his feeling is no mulch that we've touched on in the past, but to seed it. It's just easier for his guys to mow it and keep the invasives under control. And that will eventually choke them out.
Wait, are you talking about Cherry Lawn or Highland?
Cherry Lawn.
Cherry Lawn.
Okay. Yeah, so you're talking about on the ground. I was just talking about the vines. These
We
all.
we didn't talk about that, but I'll follow up with Sandy on that and
Yeah.
see where they may have already removed those, but.
Oh, there's so much hanging. There's
Okay.
so many hanging. I do, I'm not sure that's something they can do. So as we're thinking about our budget, or we're thinking about if we want to get that tree out of the pond, right? So we can get that aerator in, because it's so disgusting right now, that pond. So maybe that's something, if we're bringing in somebody to chop up that, they can take down some of the vines. So the vines are definitely dead, right, Laura? But they need.
No, generally you don't go into a tree and try to pull out dead vines.
No, I know we don't, but it's been a year. So that's what I was asking that question.
No, but you don't pull them out. You let them fall out, because you run the risk of damaging the tree. Now, if they could get close to it and cut some more of the dead vine off,
Okay.
but unless they have an orchard kind of ladder that they can get up into it, but you're not going to be pulling.
Yeah,
No,
that's what I remember. That's what I remember Charles telling us. So you just have to wait for them to fall off.
yeah,
Right.
I didn't mean yank it down. Let me rephrase it. Thank you how you said that, Laura. You, like, if there's ability to cut in certain spots and then they would gently fall. I just know that we've done great work there, but now that's kind of a really visible thing that you see right now, and all of that looking dead hanging there. So it's just something to think about. We can think about it for the next August meeting.
Do we need to vote on what Sandy's proposing in terms of continuing the work at Cherry Lawn and then moving to the north side of the park, north of the community gardens, or just come to consensus that that's the direction we want them to go?
I think coming into consensus, because we've talked about this,
Yeah, I know, but I just,
A, B, C, and D, but that could be up to Mary Louise.
So, yeah, do we have to take an official vote on that, Lori? That we move forward on that?
I think consensus is fine. I just,
All right.
I mean, in theory, we could have a totally different park in mind or.
No, I
something.
think we should, I definitely think we should finish what we had initially identified at Cherry Lawn and get that done.
Okay, because that probably is going to use up most of our invasive dollars for the European. If we only have 9,000 this year.
Could, but it all depends on how much the guys can handle during their workday.
Right,
And how much they use for overtime. So they're using it at Highland would be a totally different budget. Right. So invasives is, really zoning in on Cherry Lawn and the parks.
Yeah.
Okay.
So right now, Cherry Lawn.
Now, how do we move forward with getting a special appropriation to address those trees in McGuan and Baker?
Once Pam has the quotes, she just writes it up. Usually I take a review just of the language and then we
submit it to be put on the agenda and asking for an appropriation of almost of capital. No, it's not capital. It's not a capital project. It would just be an appropriation.
But once you receive that email from Deep, wouldn't that make the process a little bit easier?
Absolutely. Sure. Although Deep wants to handle it their own way. So I haven't seen that yet, mind you. But from what I understand, they didn't have a non-pesticide and a pesticide. I understood it that they're be ready because they want to use a pesticide. So.
But if it's a licensed, it'll be a licensed person and it'll be specifically targeted for those trees.
Right.
As opposed to, a general spraying.
Right. Of course. So we'll bring that up at the August meeting as well. Hopefully that's coming to me in a timely manner.
So you think you will have it by then?
I don't have it now and I should. So I need to follow up with the guy.
Is there any opportunity to get grant money, do you think? From under an environmental?
Possibly. I just think that's, we'd have to do some digging. And certainly, I don't know that, unless it came in front of my face, I don't know that I have that much time for that. So many projects that I'm
Well, I
juggling.
wasn't suggesting you do it. I just didn't know if you heard anything.
But I'm sure there are.
I'll ask Molly at the Nature Center. She's gotten a few grants on different things. She got on the pond to study the pond. So I'll check in with her later in the week.
Sounds great.
Thanks for all your hard work, everybody. Great job.
All right. So we should adjourn until August 15th.
That's right.
All right. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Really, really good work. I mean, just from when I met Laura for the first time a few years ago and where we were to where we are now it's incredible. And as Pam said, we've created usable parkland, which is amazing.
Isn't that great?
It's great. It's just fabulous. Like my daughter's home and I dragged her down to Weed Beach. I'm like, look at this, look how good this looks, it's so excited to show everybody how we've just opened up a whole area of the park and it's just usable and really beautiful now. And there's water views where there weren't before. It's just amazing.
All part of the education.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, thanks everybody. Appreciate it. We'll see you in August.
All righty. Thanks everyone.
Okay. Thank you.